talk. We'll edit later.
Talk.
Yeah. So I'll check with a few things here. First of all, our project is on 466 Dana Street,
Yes,
and you've been to that location before.
yes.
When do you think was the first time you went there? Do you know?
I'm not certain now. I have a memory of when I was a young married woman in the late 50s, early 60s, that I went down there to a meeting of the AAUW that Mary Gail had sponsored. And I vaguely remember, I don't remember what the meeting was about or anything like that, but I do remember Miss Waterman being there. And that's why I think it's a true memory.
Yeah. Do you remember much about Mildred?
What I do remember of her is that she was very kindly, sweet. She was quite old at that time. Well, she's younger than I am now, but
She seemed old.
she must have been at least 80 or her early 80s.
She died in 1969.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was killed in an automobile accident.
So it was before that when you met her.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then the other thing I remember is, my husband was a pharmacist and had Norton's Pharmacy in downtown San Luis, and they were customers of his. And so I do remember the two of them coming in shopping for whatever.
Okay.
And again, I remember Miss Waterman as being a very sweet, very kindly. Mary Gail was much more, not rigid, but much more businesslike and to the point.
Okay.
And Miss Waterman was just this very gentle, loving sort of person.
Interesting. All right. So you went there first for an AAUW meeting.
Yes, probably in the early 60s or late 50s.
Okay. And what was do you remember why they started having meetings there? Do you know anything about why they were meeting at that place?
I don't know anything specifically about why, but Mary Gail was involving herself in all kinds of activities. And she was an officer, I believe, in AAUW, and she just offered the place for her group. It wasn't the whole club. It was a committee meeting.
Okay. So how many people do you think they had in there normally? Like this was just a
Oh, well, yeah. There were just maybe 6 or 7 people. But on the night that we started the Commission on the Status of Women first meetings towards the formation of the ad hoc committee, we had 35 to 40 in that room, many of them sitting on the floor.
Wow, so 35 to 40 people in that one main parlor.
Yeah, I could give you an exact count because we had a sign up, but I think it was, somewhere between 30 and 40 people, and as I said, many of them sitting on the floor.
Wow. And they were all women?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the AAUW was part of establishing the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls?
Yes, in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
You leap up into the 1970s, and you know the history of the commissions on the status of women?
Not in detail, no.
Well, you know that Eleanor Roosevelt organized the first one in Washington, and then state commissions started popping up, and then in California, I don't know about other states, in California, other counties began to form the commissions on the status of women, and in 1972, Mary Gail, who was very active in Democratic politics, led the campaign for a woman running for the state Senate who lived in Santa Cruz, or near Santa Cruz.
So she was the campaign manager?
Yes, for this county. And the woman who ran for the state Senate, she lost it, but she formed a commission on the status of women in Santa Cruz County.
Okay.
And Mary Gail thought it would be a good idea to start one here. And she went to the American University Women and got them to sponsor it. They appointed a woman called Eleanor Grant, who was the wife of a dean at Cal Poly, and Eleanor Grant turned it back to her.
Wow. Okay. So that's how she ended up
Yeah.
being involved
The story of that is in
your book.
in my book, and it's more detailed.
And you were involved because you were on the committee?
Well,
Or just
you want me to tell you why I was involved? Okay, Mary Gail. I had helped Mary Gail with the campaign for the woman in 1972. And when the campaign was over and our candidate had lost, we said, "What shall we do?" So we started going to the little pop-up women's groups meetings. You know, where people were forming little groups. I have the names of them in this book, but I can't remember them specifically right now. And at some point, we decided that we needed to spread the news. So we decided to put out a newsletter. And so we founded a little newsletter called the Central Democrat and gathered news. Mary Gail wrote the editorials, and I looked up legislation that was going on for women. We also included other things so that it wasn't just confined to women, but to get everybody involved that we could.
So is this, like Mary Gail was a journalist already?
Yeah.
Was this kind of like another newspaper?
There wasn't a newspaper, it was a newsletter. It was on, in those days we had to mimeograph it, you know.
Yeah.
And it was on, oh no, actually it was just the first one was mimeographed. After that, we were able to take it to a printer. Okay. That's right. It was, you know, a sheet, yellow sheet, about this big,
Okay.
2 pages.
Okay,
you know.
About once a month?
Yeah, once a month. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a monthly newsletter. And so she basically just continued her journalism just in a different form.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you contributed to that. Okay. I want to go back just a minute to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
That you were talking about. Mary Gail and Mildred would come in together to the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
And today we would probably imagine that Mary Gail and Mildred would be part of the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the way that you understood their relationship at the time?
I have no idea what their relationship was.
You didn't really get into that.
I was talking to Ann Wyatt about it a little bit, and I said, as far as I know, it was what they used to call a Boston marriage, in the sense that they're 2 women, lone, were companions. Now, I know the story of the relationship, how they met, and you know how it went through the years. You want to hear that?
Tell any of that?
Sure. Because of her family, part of her family moving into San Luis Obispo County in the early 20s, early 1920s, Mary Gail came up here and was, I know she brought her mother. She had to bring her mother up here because her mother was ill and her father was unable to take care of her. So she brought her mother up here to live with her sister, and she was here not knowing what to do, and she was staying with her sister. Her sister's husband was foreman at the Murray Ranch. Mary Gail's family were cattle people. I mean, they came from Wyoming, had ranch there and so forth. So I don't know if you knew that. No, they... So anyway, Mary Gail's sister's husband was a foreman for the Murray Ranch, which is, you know, where PG&E is.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the Diablo Canyon. Yeah, okay. And so Mary Gail was writing. She had worked as a journalist in Pasadena, and she was writing short stories. And I've forgotten whether she told me she may have published one. Anyway, the point is, she found out that a job was open at the. I always get whether it's the Tribune or the Telegram. Hmm? Telegram. Because when I was growing up, it was the Telegram Tribune, and so so it's a Telegram. Okay. And that's where she met Miss Waterman, who was a business manager. And Miss Waterman sort of took her under her wing, and they became friends. Miss Waterman, I'm not sure where Miss Waterman lived at that time. Whether I never was quite clear ever at this time whether it was that Mary Gail and Miss Waterman bought the adobe, or whether it was Miss Waterman's family that bought the adobe.
I can tell you that.
You can.
Yeah, so the Waterman family bought the adobe in 1927.
Okay.
And her father had it, and
Yeah.
then she inherited it from
All
her
right.
parents, and then lived there.
Yeah,
and gave
yeah.
it to Mary Gail.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. That was what I wasn't clear, was never quite clear about that, because Mary Gail always sort of looked upon it as hers. Now, maybe she contributed money, and I don't know,
She did get it willed to her by Mildred.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that.
Yeah.
So where was I? Oh, well, anyway, so they became close friends. And when the editor and owner of the Telegram opened a paper in Valley Town, they moved over there together, and I think that was for about 2 years.
But they didn't sell the house.
No,
Okay.
no. But this was, I'm still talking about the early 20s, mid-20s.
Oh, okay.
This was, I'm like about 1924, 25.
Before
20.
the family even owned it.
Yeah, And then Mary Gail decided that she needed an education. She had only graduated from high school, and she got a scholarship to Berkeley, and got a Phi Beta Kappa and so forth and so on at Berkeley, and then a scholarship to Smith, where she went back there to get a master's degree. So all this took at least 5 or 6 years. She would come back to San Luis Obispo to work as a stringer or writing articles for newspapers.
In the summer.
In the summer, And I don't know what Miss Waterman was doing at that time. I'm not sure. But that would have been at the time that they were in the adobe by then, like the early 30s.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the exact year. I may have it written down in some of my memories of Mary Gail someplace. I have a file cabinet in the garage and got full of Black Widows, and that's where my Mary Gail papers are. Anyway, so the Depression came, and Miss Waterman lost her job. Maybe her parents had passed away by then. I'm not sure. Do you know that? What year they were?
I don't remember.
You don't?
I have it written somewhere.
Anyway, Miss Waterman was without a job, and she would have been probably in her early 50s, I think. I think she was about 40 when Mary Gail first met her, so she would have been in her 50s by this time and struggling. And Mary Gail had just finished at Smith and had been offered a position at Time magazine. But when she found out that Miss Waterman was struggling and couldn't handle it, whatever she was trying to do, she left Smith and came back.
Wow. So she had the opportunity to work for time and gave it up
Mm-hmm.
for Mildred.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
And then she's somehow, again, I'm not clear about how she got Miss Waterman established. You know, I don't know what happened in those years, but I do know that at a certain point, through a relative of Miss Waterman, she got a job in Sacramento as a state textbook editor.
So Mary Gail was editing state textbooks?
Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Somewhere in this house I have the fourth grade history book she did.
That's awesome.
But I have lots and lots of books in this house.
Books are worth keeping.
Yeah, anyway. So she worked in Sacramento, came back to San Luis for vacations and summers and so forth, until 1945, I think it was, 44, 45. At some point, she told me, and I never was sure of the year, she applied for Bob Kennedy's job at Cal Poly, but didn't get it.
And what
But
was
Bob Kennedy, maybe it was when Bob Kennedy was going off to get his master's degree at Stanford or something like that. I don't know. I was never sure. But
what was his job?
oh, he started out as the head of the journalism department, or as a journalist at Poly.
Okay, that makes sense. She would
Yeah.
want that job.
Yeah. See over there. There's a picture that he took when I was 10 years old on the. Yeah. That's Bob's picture of our family.
Oh, he took this picture of your family.
Yeah,
Your family.
walking across the lawn at our house.
Look at that. That's cute. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 girls.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I have 5 sisters and 2 brothers.
Oh well.
Yeah, take a picture of that.
So anyway, then she left the job in Sacramento in the mid 40s after the war. I think I'm not clear about the date, but it's like between 44 and 46, around in there, and worked on the adobe on the house a lot at that point. She told me about that because her hands, for a woman her size and so forth, were big and heavy, thick hands.
She was a rancher and
Well, she didn't do it on the ranch because she left the ranch when she was 10 or 11. I mean, that's her parents moved to Pasadena. Anyway, so let's see. Then they needed money, or Miss Waterman was working for the. Oh, I know. I remember this. Miss Waterman was working for the county in the health department and the records department, and she was getting so she wasn't able to do her job all that well by herself, and so Mary Gail got a job and became her assistant, and did that until they both retired.
wow. I think that's so amazing that she was, whatever the nature of their relationship, that she was committed enough to it
Mm-hmm.
to change her own career to support Mildred
Yeah.
in her aging. That's just so awesome.
It
Yeah.
sounded a little bit like Mary Gail Black was very appreciative of all the support that Miss Waterman gave to her.
Probably.
You know, she brought her into her home, allowed her to stay with her during the summer, during the holidays, supported her endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, from what I've read, it sounded like um, Miss Black was, just returning the favor to Miss Waterman for all her generosity.
They were best friends. I mean, very, very, very close friends. I mean, it was, again.
Yeah. I mean, Miss Waterman was, I think, 17 years older, or quite a bit older.
Quite a bit. Mary Gail was never quite straight with me about her age. I didn't find out about how old she. I knew she was. I knew she was in my mother's generation, and I always looked to her as not as a mother, but as someone who was in my mother's generation. So I'm never quite clear about the age. But after she died, I found out she was born in 1898, and she had subtracted a few years from that.
To be born in the 20th century.
So she would have been in her early like 24 or so when she first met Miss Waterman, and then she did tell me Miss Waterman was 40, so it was about 16 years difference, around there, yeah.
So I wanted to try to paint a picture of what it was like inside that parlor with all those women. Is there anything you can tell us about, like, what was it? Can you describe the scene with all the women meeting there? What was the energy like? What was the setting like?
You mean for the night of the Commission on the Status of Women?
The big meeting?
Well, first of all, we had some preliminary meetings, and on those, nobody had to sit on the floor. Do you want to know how the room was arranged?
Yeah.
I can remember that pretty well. You go in the front door, which is right in the center. To your right was a set of bookcases low enough to be underneath the window. And there were probably a couple of chairs, because right across from it was, not from the door, right across from the door was the other door out, but to the right of the wall opposite was their dining room table. And I remember it, especially the times when Mary Gail would get flowers and put them on that table. And above that, hanging on the wall, above the dining room table, which was a very nice, handsome, dark, polished wood, was a hanging that always fascinated me. It was not quite the size of a sheet, but it filled up the wall pretty well, and it was kind of an off-white, just enough, to make a distinction, distinguish it from the wall. I mean, which was white, with red designs and hearts included in it. And
was it a quilt?
No, it was. I never touched it, but it was, like sheet material or fabric of some sort. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, that was on that, and on the other side of the table was a piano, upright piano, which I experienced and someone else experienced hearing it when nobody was playing it.
A ghost?
Yes.
So, who did play that thing?
Miss Waterman, I'm sure. Mary Gail was out in the country. She was growing up and didn't have piano lessons.
So was Mildred more kind of cultured?
What do you mean by cultured?
Like, did she have, I don't know, like, did she just have, like, good manners and, like, kind of upbringing
I think we were, as far as I know, they were both that way.
Both that way? Okay.
Hmm.
Just wondering, when you grow up on the ranch in the countryside with some brothers or
Well,
some...
Mary Gail's father was a state legislator,
Oh, okay.
and a county supervisor and stuff like that in Wyoming.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
and yeah.
All right. So, okay, so that's the one side of the room. What about the other side with the fireplace?
Well, on the other side there was a couch. As you come in the door, immediately to your left, there was a couch, and then there was a door into the apartment that, at the time, I knew Mary Gail. A man lived in that apartment. The door was locked all the time. Then there was a fireplace, and I believe there was I'm a little vague on this part. I think there was some sort of I don't know what they call them. A thing that you put vases and little pieces of china on. I think, but I'm not certain. I don't know. And then another couch and table, lamp, chair.
So then how did they fit 40 people in there?
Said they sat on the floor.
Did they have folding chairs, or did the people just come in
No,
and sit down?
just came in and, well, you could, okay, we had some preliminary meetings for the Commission on the Status of Women there, where there were about 13 or 14 people, and everybody easily sat on chairs on that one. I guess, I'm not sure about this, but they were probably using dining room chairs. Chairs that went with the dining room table.
Yeah, take them from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, they were in the room. They weren't kept other places in the house.
Okay.
Yeah. Then, same with the adobe. That there was a door on the right-hand side. Well, it's still there, I'm sure. And there were. This is where there was a little room to the right, and there was an antique single bed in there. The kind that had a roll top. I don't know enough about antiques, and Mary Gail kept her file cabinets in there. And when I was trying to be a writer and writing stuff for the Central Democrat and stuff like that, there's a table in there, and I was allowed to use it as a little office.
Okay.
Then there's a door right next to the bed. It was very small. It's still there. You'll know it's very small. Mm-hmm. Then there was a door, and through that, then there was what I understood was Miss Waterman's bedroom. With, again, I believe was a single bed, similar to the one. And then after that, and then going down the side, I believe there was a sort of a dressing room or closet room or something, and then a bathroom.
Yeah, that tracks with what I've seen. And one of the questions that we had was like, we know that there were different people living there in these apartments, but like, what do you know about the different renters that she may have had there?
Well, all I know is that there was a man, I think his name was Mr. Jones, who had the place that was on the other side of the fireplace, and with the door that was locked, that was in the adobe. I never saw his place. I understood it was just a bathroom and a bedroom or something. Then I understood there was a woman living in an apartment next to that. And then I'm not sure. On the other side, going past the bathroom on the other side of the adobe, on the right-hand side, if you're facing north, there was an apartment there. I was never in it. I don't think I was. But she had a woman living there. But I didn't ever meet her. And then when in the 80s, when she began to fail physically, I guess her heart was starting to bother her. Her niece, Scotty Simpson, came up, and Mary Gail did not want her to live in her house with her. Have your own place. And so Scotty lived in that to sort of look after her, and she wasn't a lot younger than Mary Gail. She was only about 10 years younger than Mary Gail, and she was the one who inherited the houses
The other
on
property.
the other part, on the other side of the driveway. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we know that there's at least 5 bathrooms right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are aware that she had boarders at different times, and there was a carriage house.
They weren't boarders, renters.
Renters.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, they're renters.
Boarders eat.
Okay, yeah, they were separate. There was a carriage house with a unit on top too, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I didn't ever know who lived there. I know Tim Olson lived in the house on the creek, but I think that may have been, I'm not sure whether that may have been after Mary Gail died. I'm not sure.
Okay. So.
And the Olsons, his family lived in my period, lived in the 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
But Scotty sold it, not to them.
Yeah. So based on what you know about Mary Gail and Mildred, do you think that they would want to have a development of tiny homes around the adobe and save that building and put people in affordable housing there?
Oh, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they were generous people, loving people, working for good causes all their lives.
Good to know. All right, let me just see.
Oh, are you aware of, in pictures I've seen of the adobe from above since then, are you aware of the room off the kitchen? It wasn't a room, actually, it was just a sort of a patio, and that's mostly where Mary Gail, in the time that I knew Mary Gail, that's mostly where she sat. She would light a fire in that fireplace, and she had 2 chairs in there and a small table. And
in the patio with the bricks?
Yeah, well, it wasn't she had it closed in.
Yeah.
It was warm enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the house is pretty much as it was in 1989,
Mm.
just less.
Well, except it's been flooded.
Yeah, except for less well.
Yeah.
So when we go in there and we have to take apart all of the walls that aren't adobe
Mm-hmm.
because they're only like this thick, and we have to make 2x4 walls.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do that, we're gonna pour concrete floors, and we're gonna before we close the walls, we're gonna paint all the studs with latex paint. We're gonna put spray foam insulation in there and make it so that if it floods again, it can dry.
Yeah, it was good.
Yes, and hopefully be more resistant to mold and.
Yeah, I helped Mary Gail at the time of the flood in 70. Was it 72? Yeah.
What was that like?
No, was it 73? Anyway, whatever year that was, it was pretty bad. She had some extremely valuable books. For example, she had a 18th century book. Samuel Johnson, Samuel Johnson, the 18th century writer and critic and so forth and so on, and wrote not the first dictionary, but wrote a dictionary. She had the dictionary from the 18th century, and it got flooded.
How deep was the water? How deep was it?
I didn't see the water. I had my own family problems to take care of, my kids in school and so forth and so on. And I had my mother was still living in town too. So I didn't see how deep the water was, but it went up and it got the books. She had first edition John Steinbeck's also.
People who write usually have lots of books.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and she was a collector of antique books,
So did you help her clean it up?
Yes.
What did you have to do?
Well, what I remember is turning the pages of the books, tables, and turning the pages of the books like this, as they would dry. And I remember there being fans and so forth. She had beautiful hardwood floors, and they did replace those. They had to replace those.
Yeah, we knew the floors weren't
Yeah.
original when we were in there. The
Yeah.
architectural historian said, these are not original.
Well, the hardwood floors were not the original, because no, she she told me the story that she and Miss Waterman rescued them from a dance hall in Oceano.
So the floor that's in the parlor now is a recycled dance floor from Oceano?
If that's not hasn't been changed since 1989.
I don't think it's been touched.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow.
That's so cool. So is there anything else that you know about the residents on that street in the general area of the adobe, or what their neighbors' relationships were like or anything?
Not really, no.
Okay.
She used to talk about this. This is interesting because it places them in that adobe fairly early. There's a man who whose family was connected with the Anderson Hotel, and eventually owned the Anderson's restaurants in Morro Bay. I don't know if you know about those at all. Anyway, he died about 6 or 7 years ago, well into his 90s. And she remembered him. Oh, and excuse me. And they lived in that two-story Victorian house that's,
Down the street.
well, one up. There's the IOF hall and then this house. That's where they lived. And she remembers him riding his tricycle on that. Or she remembered him riding his
Up and
tricycle.
down the street.
Uh-huh, yeah.
That's cool.
So that means that there was some connection with that house earlier than
Yeah.
Yeah.
27.
Well, yeah, so what we know is that it was built sometime between 1845 and 1865.
Yeah.
We just don't know the exact date. But by 1865, it was in existence, and the first thing that the Similars did
Yeah.
when they bought it was put on the wings and put siding.
Mm-hmm.
And that siding has been instrumental in preserving that building. And it's really beautiful redwood, heartwood siding.
Mm.
And we're going to try to save as much of it as we can as we take it off and put it back when we finish. But then it went from the Similars had it, Rosa Butron died, J.J. Similar remarried, then he died, and his second wife lived there until 1926. So from 1860 to 1926, it was a similar wife.
Yeah, well, it could have been 26 or 27 that Bud Anderson was riding his tricycle.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's see, make sure I get what Anne wants here. So I just want to talk a little bit about the sense of community that Mary, Gail, and Mildred may have created with this adobe. So they held meetings there, and that created a sense of community among women.
Mm-hmm. Well, Miss Waterman had passed away by the time we were doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, Mary Gail's meetings, yes.
Okay.
I have something I wrote about her that tells you the organizations she was connected with. Okay. She was a founding member and held several offices in the AAUW. She was persuaded the AAUW to sponsor a county commission on the status of women. She worked for 20 years as a volunteer for the Cancer Society, heading its 6-year epidemiological study. 3 years a member of the Diocesan Council for the Episcopal Diocese of California. She was arrested in the 1977 demonstrations against Diablo.
I wonder, I have a question about that.
And she was on the Area Agency Council for the Aging and was a member of the board, its board of directors. And so, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
that's in addition to all her political work.
she was busy. So the family ranch was in the area of Diablo Canyon where Diablo is now.
It wasn't the family ranch. No,
Oh.
that ranch belonged to the Murray family,
Okay, so that's where her
Her-
brother worked,
her brother-in-law.
brother-in-law.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she didn't have like a personal interest in the land, and that's why she was opposed to the power plant. It was more
Yeah, it was
principle.
it was principled, yeah. Yeah, it was principled against, she was one of the mothers, worked with Mothers for Peace. She wasn't a member of the Mothers for Peace, but very, knew quite a few of them.
Okay.
And was very close friends with one of them.
I was doing research on Mary Gail Black, and it said that a lot of places said that she was part of the Mothers of Peace, so that might be just a misinterpretation.
Excuse me?
I was doing research on Mary Gail Black, and some websites were saying that she was part of the Mothers for Peace.
Yeah,
so I'll have to.
I'm not sure that she belonged to them.
Okay, cool. I'll make that note. Thank you.
So it sounds like all of
But she was very very close friends with Anne Cruikshanks, for example.
Okay.
She may not be, officially a part of Mothers for Peace, but she can also participate in a lot of their activities.
Yeah.
It sounds like all of the things that she was involved in they're all things that she cared about. Women and girls, the environment, and the fact that she rented out parts of her property to different people. It could have been a financial necessity on her part to have to rent it.
That's how she and Miss Waterman made money.
That's how they lived.
They owned another adobe. Yeah, but she broke her heart. She had to sell it when Miss Waterman died in order to pay inheritance taxes. It was on Churro Street.
Oh, so they owned that one too, huh?
It was on Churro, just below Mill,
Okay.
down the hill. I
Okay.
used to walk past it when I walked home from school.
So where did you go to school?
Mission.
Okay. And so as a child then you walked right past Dana Street all the time?
No,
No?
I would.
It's not right around there. It's the other way.
Yeah, the schoolyard was on Broad Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, but all the things that she did, it sounds like she was working, I don't know, I never met her, but it sounds like what was important to her was leaving the world in a better place than she found it.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And she would have loved to have had the opportunity probably to rent out 20 homes on her property.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
She rented quite a few.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Description of life in the adobe and the parlor. We kind of did that. All right. I think we got most of the questions, but what we didn't get was you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and the book that you wrote.
Well, I came to San Luis Obispo in 1933 when my father became president of Cal Poly. I grew up on the campus. I went to University of California, Berkeley. I came home after a year or so in San Francisco after my graduation, and because I didn't know what to do, I mean, how to earn my living. And I gave up and came home and said, "Hey, Dad, what'll I do?" So it was at that time that Cal Poly was starting to open to women, and so I became one of the first women to enroll after, you know, after the closed. It closed. Women had been enrolled at Cal Poly in the 20s, but then they closed it to women, and remained that way until the mid 50s.
Just when we think we're making progress.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't sexism. My father was not a sexist. He absolutely was not. In fact, he insisted that all of us go to university.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say insist the University of California, but he insisted that we had to go to university. And when one of my sisters did not finish college, the family was brokenhearted, and it was a major. She had to elope, and you know, it was a major, major distress because.
No college for her, huh?
Well, she only finished 2 years.
Oh.
It wasn't enough.
Interesting.
No, because he believed women needed to learn how to support themselves too. But in his life, women were not running farms, and they were not engineers, and so, you know.
Well, now look at Cal Poly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I started at Cal Poly. I got my teaching credential at Cal Poly and taught for a year, and then I married a local pharmacist whose family had been in this town since the 1870s, and had 3 daughters, and started and tried to write while I was taking care of three little girls. Gave up and got involved in politics.
Okay.
And then retired from politics and did some more writing with someone who also was trying to write. Two of us published 2 books. Feminist Quotations and The Nonviolent Militant.
Oh.
Feminist quotation.
Tim? What was it, Tim and his quotations?
Feminist.
Oh, feminist.
Feminist.
Sorry.
Feminist Quotations.
Feminist quotations.
Uh-huh.
And what was the other one?
Nonviolent Militant. Those were more or less edited. We didn't actually write feminist quotations. We collected feminist quotations. And the Nonviolent Militant, I wrote a great deal of the biography based on of this woman, but the book also contained some of her writings, so it's a compilation. Then I started writing novels because my friend Anne became ill, and I started writing novels, and I published one, and then Anne got serious cancer. In fact, that she died from, and I stopped writing and took care of her. And then after that, because I'd always wanted to write poetry, I decided that's what I would do. So I wrote poetry for a while, and then with some friends, published a book through Coalesce Press, Where Our Palms Meet, and then I did this one, and then my last publication was a book called Releasing the Light, which was a collection of the detailed journal that I kept when my friend Anne was dying. It's a caregiver's.
Wow. Well, you have
And
quite a few.
I have published a couple of short stories and one poem, but a long time ago.
Well, I'm glad you wrote that one, especially because that's the only one I've read. But well, we have a copy that we're sharing with our staff. We're taking turns. So thank you for writing that. and for sharing your
Yeah.
stories of Mildred and Mary Gail.
Yeah. The library has copies of this, by the way, because I go to the library book group, and they wanted me to lead the discussion and use this book as the source of discussion last January. And I did that, and so I gave the library some of the extra copies I had.
Okay. Well, does anybody have questions that I haven't asked?
Well, I'm just curious of how would you say your friendship with Mary Gail Black? Were you both very close, or did you just know her through your interactions?
Well, I would say she was like a mother to me, but not really, because my mother's a different kind of person. Maybe like an older sister. We argued. And that's in this book, if you've read it.
Well, for you first.
We had major disagreements politically in terms of how to do things. She was a person who worked from the top down, and I'm up. And that created a lot of friction, but we remained friends all the way through. And after I had left the Commission on the Status of Women, and she was angry with me about that too. There was no question we get angry with each other.
That's what sisters do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I helped her put together 2 books. One of them has been published and you can get it in the library if you're interested. It's in the library reserve section. I mean, the books they don't let out. It's a story of her work at the Telegram.
Oh yeah, we've seen that one.
You've seen that book, okay, yeah. And then another one, which she finished just before she died. It was just printed, and we never planned to do anything but the least expensive possible thing, and this is it. And this is the story of her childhood and her family.
The Ranch at Big Piney by Mary Gail Black.
We only had 50 copies printed, and the day they were finished, she died.
Wow. So, I think that's awesome because what I see here is a legacy of women mentoring other women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so impactful. I don't think we do enough to show the world what women mentoring women actually accomplishes. Like we have Mildred mentoring Mary Gail, Mary Gail mentoring you.
And then I mentored her back
Taking turns.
with these when she was in her 80s, with her getting those 2 books going. Yeah, the first book, I suggested she write it, and she would write these little short things. I said, no, you've got to have longer, And then I would put 3 or 4 of them together, and she'd say, oh, all right,
And it's interesting because I have a sister who's 14 months younger than me, and we fought all the time growing up. And even now, we can get into a really heated debate, and it's okay. Like, we still love each other. No one's mad at the end, right? And I wish we had more of that today in the world.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, more exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I go to the little writers group in Atascadero, and some of them have North County politics. And they start going on and on and on. And if I say one word, it's a fight starts.
Yeah, I live in a Tuscanero.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was Susan Funk's campaign manager when she ran for
Oh.
county supervisor.
Mm,
So yeah.
too bad.
Well, she's now going to run for city council. I'm her campaign manager again. So.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what struck me about learning more about the women who, you know, existed here in San Luis Obispo is that they were a very feisty group. They're very feisty.
Very what kind of group?
Feisty.
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 And they get things done. They're very progressive, that era, for San Luis Obispo, I think. And I love hearing how, you know, Mildred Waterman, her parents, back in the early 1900s, would invite people over to their home,
Mm-hmm.
whether for evening social hour or to stay over the weekend or to stay a month or so. And that continued with Mildred Waterman allowing
Mhm.
Mary Gail Black to live there on and off
Yeah.
for a different, you know, time, whether it's over a weekend or a month
Mhm.
or years. And that from the newspaper clippings that I was able to find, that there were, it was like an open door. People were coming in, and out, and
Mhm.
there were many events, whether there were social tea events with just the women, or there were political powwows
Yeah.
there to
Mhm.
change the world. So, you know, the Adobe have seen a lot of action
Mhm.
throughout the last, you know, 100 years.
Yes.
And it's very empowering to hear about all the work that went in, not just to make life better um, as a community, but they also reached out to people and brought people in and made them feel comfortable and, you know,
Yeah.
safe.
I'm so glad you've done that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'd be interested to see it when you.
Well, there's some old clippings
Mhm.
of you know, they have,
Yeah.
every time someone stayed at the
Yeah.
Adobe, it was written up.
Yeah.
You know,
Well.
I shudder to think, you know, Mavis was at Vicky's house for the day.
Well.
It's in the paper.
There wasn't. This is. You have to forget this was a very small area. You know. I mean,
Right.
when I grew up here, it was only 8,000 population of 8,000,
Yeah.
and gosh, in the 70s, it was only the 25,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love that there was a sense of community, especially on you know, at Fourth
Mhm.
Daniel Street. It was a happening place where people got together, they congregated, they, you know, set out to change
The world.
Yeah.
And so,
Do you know of other meetings besides the ones that you attended that happened there?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right. Did you have anything?
I do want to know about your poetry, though. If you have published any of your poetry.
Yeah. 3 friends and I, or 3 other poets, put together a book called "Where Our Palms Rest," and I publish in a couple of small journals. But I'm a lazy type, and publishing poetry is a big job. You have to keep, keep on looking through all these journals, and I said to heck with it. After I stopped in 2015, 2014, stopped doing that.
Wow. So where our palms rest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've, I don't know, because it was a limited edition,
Okay.
and my friends, like, I don't know if you've heard of local poets. Bonnie Young was a poet laureate for a while, and Joanne Rush. Anyway, the I forgot. I've lost my train of thought when I was.
About poems.
Yeah.
Yeah, publishing.
Oh, well, I was talking about publishing poems, but
Oh
I
wow.
lost it. Not important.
So
Well,
cool. Do you still
Yeah.
write other than the one that you've just written?
I can't stop.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you type it on the computer?
Yeah, but I do better actually handwriting. No, actually, what I'm working on now, and I'm very unhappy with it, is a description of the Cal Poly campus as it was when I was, before I was 10, before 1942. It was much, I mean, totally different. The president's house is about, and the old administration building, I mean, with the clock tower, are the only things that I can think of right now that are the same.
Wow.
And so I am been trying to correlate what my childhood with what I remember with what it looked like, and it's not going well.
It would be hard to have words to describe all that, like using words. I can see how a picture would describe it so much easier.
Not only, it's not just describing it, it's trying to get myself into it. I mean, you know, like for example, my sister Helen, when she was 17, was allowed to date a poly boy named Emil, who was a dairy student. And in those days, the dairy students, you know, had their own cows and milked them and so forth and so on. So we also, in those days, got our milk from the Cal Poly dairy. So every day, Helen would walk up to the dairy from our house to get the milk, and that means, and I mean up, because it was up where the President Administration Building is now, or in that general area, or where the student union is, front in there. And my mother did not like her going up there like that, so she would send me to chaperone.
10-year-old sister?
I was 5.
Oh, you were 5 then?
Yeah, Helen was 12 years older than I. No, I was 5.
That's perfect, because 5-year-olds will always tell you exactly what happened.
Well, I didn't see anything that happened. I'd go and
Well, because you were there.
I would go and do other things.
Yeah, play with.
I made friends with another poly boy called Can Cleany. I don't know what his first name was, but they all called him Can Cleany. And I was just sort of fascinated by the name. And he would squirt milk, and, you know, he'd be milking, he'd squirt milk in my mouth. Stuff like that. Yeah, my mother, I don't know, she was a San Francisco person, and she grew up there, and then she only lived in Sacramento, other than coming down to Cal Poly. Oh, I guess she was in Gilroy for 2 or 3 years. And anyway, she had no idea. I mean, a farm was a farm, and you could let the kids go out in the farm. So I was allowed, from the time I was 5, to go anywhere I wanted on the campus.
Yeah.
It was safe, she thought.
Yeah.
You didn't disabuse her of that notion?
No.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on now, and it is. I'm not happy with it.
Are you working with anyone from Cal Poly about your historical knowledge to that institution?
No.
Because I would think it would be very valuable as part of their
No.
history.
I'll give it to them when I've finally finished. Or tell my kids to give it to them.
For Cal Poly.
Yeah.
Well, I think I have a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah.
And I would just like to take your photograph, if that's okay with you.
Okay.